I'm Ded Tebiase. You're watching Series 2 of Ringz Ov Saturn's MPC series. Musical influences and background influences like from everywhere, man. Like literally, like from 90s kind of like hip hop, boom bap hip hop to, you know, current day stuff, house producers. You know what I mean? Like, you know, anything that's sort of like kind of melody inspired. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of electronic stuff that I've been introduced to from friends of mine that's quite inspiring. Do you know what I mean? Like trying to blend the two together, I guess. So yeah, so many influences, like you can't even list them all. It goes back to like soul, you know, funk, you know, prog, rock, fucking everything, man. Like, yeah, basically I get inspired by records that I listen to, man, and I'll pick up records from people that I've never even heard of, like, do you know what I mean? And then you end up getting inspired by that, and you search their back catalogue, and then you know, the band members are split off into other, you know, directions and stuff like that, like, and the next thing you know, you're off like searching out records that are like 30 years old on labels that put out like 2 records and then they didn't do anything else, you know what I mean? And all of this kind of stuff, man. Like I like probably like the most influential and inspiring thing about it, I'm guessing, is this kind of like is music history, do you know what I mean? Like it's the mystery of it and all, you know, all of that kind of stuff that you don't even have to hear anything to be inspired by it. Just like stories of labels and artists and stuff like that can be inspiring enough, do you know what I mean? So there's hundreds. I acquired my first like music production piece like when I was maybe 17, 18, I think. Like I got my first copy of Logic, like, yeah, on a laptop. Like I was at college at the time studying music tech. It was a 2-year course that I did a year of, like, but yeah, you know, that was it. It was I think it was like Logic 5 or something like that. Like it was terrible. It was really bad. It was so hard to use. The time stretched, like, you know, capabilities on it was like you literally had to guess. You know what I mean? Like I wish I could show you that. It was nuts. It would take you about 2 hours to time stretch a sample. Like it was crazy. And then I got I had no idea what I was buying. Like I'm not going to try and put any sort of like front on for this. Like I had no idea what I was looking at or buying, but I bought an MPC 2000 XL, like, and yeah, in my head that MPC did a lot more than it actually does. Like, so it was like I didn't have any floppy disks, or like I was like, where did the samples come from? Do you know what I mean? Like, does it just turn up with discs with samples on it and that kind of stuff? Like, you know what I mean? I had literally no idea what I was doing. That MPC basically sat in a box in my parents' garage for like about, I don't know, maybe close to 4 years, I think. I think I turned it on like once. And because it didn't automatically load up with drum samples, I was like, fuck this, man. Like, you know, I'm just gonna sell it. Like, and I wish I hadn't. I wish I still had it, because now I know what I kind of know what I'm doing. Like, I wish I still had it. Like, but you know, it was at that point in time, like I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what I wanted it to sound like, but I had no idea what to do to make it sound like that, if you see what I mean. Like, so I had the equipment, but I had no amp, no speakers, no nothing. Like, I had turntables, but all I had was hip hop records, like, and you know, the Michael Jackson thriller album that seems to just be in every single person's record collection, and the records that my mum and dad had, and it's almost like I turned it on and just was just sort of like, do you know what, fuck this, and just didn't even bother, like, you know. And I wish I'd learned it, and I wish I still had it, but I don't. So. Was I shown the ropes for music production? Yes, I was. Like, I definitely was. I studied it for a year in a college in Bristol, like, but I left after it. It was a 2-year course, and I left after a year because it really didn't teach me what I wanted to learn. Like, at that point in time, I wanted to be sat in front of a drum machine, do you know what I mean, and that kind of stuff, and it really wasn't anything like that. Like, so I left, like, you know. But yeah, a friend of mine, C, taught me almost everything that I know about, you know, how to structure a song, basically. Do you know what I mean? Like verse spaces, chorus lengths, and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, and be that good or bad that I'm tied into sort of like a pattern about how like music is supposed to sound. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, oh, like, bar spaces for verses are supposed to be like 16s and 32s and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you shouldn't, you know, stick within boundaries or whatever. But I did get taught that, and that kind of like helped me out, if you see what I mean. And like, you know, I DJ'd from like quite a young age as well, which also definitely helped when it came to like arranging tracks and stuff like that. So yeah, I was taught the ropes, definitely. But do I feel like the MPC was the right piece of equipment to get me kind of started? Like, probably not. Like, if I'm honest, like, definitely not. Like, what I had in my head that MPC did was not what that MPC actually did. And to be honest, what I had in my head, I still don't think actually exists. But like, yeah, no, I don't think it was. Like, you know, I had no idea what I was buying, do you know what I mean? And any idea how to work it, like, at all. And like, to be honest with you, I probably turned it on about 3 or 4 times, like, you know. And because there was no drum samples on the pads when I turned it on, I was like, you know, fuck this, like, I'm just gonna sell it. But I kept it for like a good 4 years. It was just in a box, like in my parents' garage, for like 4 or 5, maybe even like probably even longer than that. Like, and I ended up selling it to Bubonic from Split Profits. Bought it off of me, like, and he doesn't have it anymore. I don't know who he sold it to or whatever, but he bought it off of me, like. But the right piece of musical equipment for me that actually got me, like, you know, learning something and wanting to learn more and to progress and all of that kind of stuff was probably like the copy of Logic that I had. Do you know what I mean? Like, I spent a lot of my early years making beats or whatever, like literally making beats on a computer, like, you know, like clicking a mouse and dropping samples into, you know, like a sequencer program. That was it. That's how I did it. Like, you know, I wanted a hands-on approach, but didn't know how to use the piece of equipment that was going to give me that hands-on approach. So I ended up just using, you know, a PC and a crack copy of Logic, like, or whatever, and I kind of got into producing or like beat making or whatever, like, kind of just at the point where software was making like you know, was becoming like a big side of the market, if you see what I mean. You know, if I'd have got into it about 2 years before, then I think it, you know, MPCs, you know, any sort of samplers, keyboards and all that kind of stuff is the way to go. But, you know, I was just at the end of that sort of like space and time, I think, like, where it was, you know, there's now software that I can sample on my laptop. I don't need all of these samplers, and I don't need a drum machine, do you know what I mean? And I don't need to learn what all of this stuff is. I can just do this in front of me on my computer. The equipment that I use now is I've got the Mark II machine. I had a micro for a bit. Like, well, before the micro, I used an MPD. I use Abelton now to sequence tracks from stems from Maschine. Like, but I used to make all of the music itself in Abelton at one point. Like, and I bought my first MPD off of eBay for about like 30 quid, just to see whether I liked using pads or not. Because, you know, like I say, I started making music and I made music for a long time just using a mouse and a laptop. Like, I didn't need anything else. Like, but I wanted to try something, like, you know, and the MPD was like, you know, like an easy solution, if you see what I mean. It didn't mean me learning like a whole new operating system and all that kind of stuff. It literally just linked with what I was already using, so it was perfect. And I found one for about 30 quid. It was battered, like, and I was, you know, fuck it, like, if it doesn't work, it's £30. Like, I could probably sell it for that again, like, but I'll give it a go. Bought it, loved it. Like, the difference between the music you can make with using a mouse and dropping samples and cutting samples with a mouse and, you know, putting them where you want them or whatever, it's so rigid in, I don't know, I just found it quite kind of like, it's quite limiting in a way, like, and the freedom of being able to use pads and like the natural kind of swing you can get on stuff, like, you know, I was just sold like immediately. So that lasted for a bit. The MPD broke, I don't know, like the whole load of pad sensors went, none of the pads worked or whatever. Like, it was falling apart when I got it, to be honest. Like, so, you know, it lasted for a good 6 months and then died. And yeah, I debated for ages and ages and ages about what to get. Like, you know, should I get like an MP1000 or a Maschine or Maschine Micro or this kind of stuff? And like looking at all these different bits and pieces, I toyed with the idea of getting a 2000 XL again, like, so I could actually like have it when I kind of knew what it did and how to use it, like. And I ended up buying a Maschine Micro. I got warned off the Micro by a few people before I bought it, actually, about being it's tricky with like sub menus and that kind of stuff, like. And I was just like, fuck it, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't afford a big machine, like, I can't afford the MP1000, but I can't. I had like about 300 quid, so I was like, I'm just gonna buy like the Micro and just suck it up and get on with it, like. And it was sick. It was really good. Like, I really enjoyed it. It's such an easy machine to use. Like, it's really nice. Like, the interface is once you get the hang of it. It did take me a couple of weeks to get used to it, but once you get used to it, it is really easy to use. And eventually, you know, bought the big machine or whatever, and have been, you know, since then sold the little one or whatever. So the big machine is definitely easier to use than the Micro. Like, do I prefer hardware or software, and why? I don't know. I haven't used, in honesty, like, I haven't used enough hardware to have an opinion, if you see what I mean. Like, I started making beats on software, and although, you know, the machine is just a glorified MIDI controller. That's all it is. Like, it is a USB MIDI controller. It's plugged into your laptop. You sample into your laptop. Do you know what I mean? As much as you dress it up or whatever, it's just a MIDI controller. Like, it isn't a piece of hardware, really. Like, it is just a piece of software. Like, so, I mean, I have a 3000 XL. That it was working for a bit. It was sick. Do you know what I mean? Like, I MIDI'd the two together. It was amazing. Like, and then the 3000 broke. The disk drive broke. I can't save any samples on it. Like, which is really annoying. I'd quite like to mix the two together. Like I definitely have, you know, every sort of intention of buying another sampler, be it like a 900, a 950, like, or try and get an Emax, like that kind of stuff, like, you know, like a 12-bit sampler, like of some sort. I would really like to own and learn how to use, but to be fair, I can't say I prefer hardware because I've barely used any. Like I really have, like, you know, like I say, I owned an MP for a couple of years, but like I barely even turned the thing on. Like it's almost like I never even owned it, like, you know. So I would say software, probably, I think, but that's just because what I'm used to. I'm sure if I'd learned on hardware and I had loads of hardware to use, I would say hardware. Like my ideal situation is to have like the best of both worlds. Like I'd like a rack, like some sort of 12-bit rack sampler, like to be able to MIDI with my machine and do it that kind of way. So then I got like one and the other, like, you know. So that's the ideal situation, but I'm not there yet. My favorite brand of musical equipment and why? Man, it's tricky because, I mean, I have like a craving for an SP1200, like you wouldn't believe, like, and you know, but I've never used one, so I can't really say that EMU or whatever, like, is my favourite brand of equipment. My Akai was pretty sick when it worked, like, that was pretty dope, and you know, I definitely want to get another sampler at some point, so, you know, a 950 is pretty high on the list, so Akai, pretty good. Like I've had a go on Bailey's Brown's MPC 1000, like that was pretty dope, you know. But at the minute, I say Maschine. It's in like Native Instruments. I think if you're gonna buy any sort of controller, or you want like the feel of like an old drum machine but without the limitations, then buy a Maschine, man. Native Instruments, probably. I think the Maschine is my favourite at the moment. If I was going to recommend any piece of musical equipment to a beginner, I would absolutely recommend them a Maschine. Like, I don't think you could do much better than that. I really don't. You know, the MPs and you know, all of that kind of stuff, like standalone drum machines are wicked. Like, they are amazing, basically, but they have their limitations, and you are going to need to buy like some sort of laptop or computer to be able to stem all of your tracks out, to be able to make, you know, like a WAV or an MP3 of all of your beats. Like, so why not get a Maschine? The Machine's got functions on there that, you know, that you don't get on like an MPC 1000, because I mean, like, for me, those two are the two comparable products. Like, so your Maschine, like the one that I have, is its product on the Akai market is you know, the Renaissance is probably the same as the Studio, so, you know, the Maschine is probably more like in price range to like the MPC 1000. So if you have a 1000, unless you have like the Akai software, which almost, you know, that comes with the Renaissance, it's almost kind of changed everything, like, because now like your 1000 can be more like a Maschine where you can just drag stems from, you know, your unit into a sequencer program, like, you know. So it's kind of tricky, but, you know, I'm a Maschine man. Like, the Maschine is great. It does everything that I want it to do. You know, I have zero complaints. Like, the only thing that I wish that they would make, that Native Instruments would make, is a standalone Maschine. If they could make one that didn't need to be tethered to a laptop, I would buy it. If anyone from Native Instruments is listening, I would buy that if you made it. Why did I choose software over hardware? I think because it was a cost thing more than anything else, man. Like, the crack software that I used to use was completely free, like, and no one was going to give me a free MPC. It was literally as simple as that. Like, you know, I ended up using more software than hardware because I didn't have to pay for the software, basically. So it's as simple as that. There's nothing else to it other than that. Like, if the hardware was, you know, cheaper and more affordable for me personally, like, I would have probably chosen hardware and I would have gone that direction. Like, but you know, no one's going to turn up and give you an MPC for free, so I could get software for free. So that's it. My views on sampling. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's an issue anymore. Like, I really don't. You know, there was so much chat when I was younger about, you know, sampling this and sampling that, and like, oh, I can't believe they've used this, and like, how, you know, people getting sued and that kind of stuff, man. And it's like it's the 21st century now. Like, you know, you can get anything that you want on the internet. You know, someone's going to use it. Like, simple as, like, and if they don't get it on the internet, they're going to get it on a record. It's like, you're going to sample a cassette tape, you can sample a CD, like, you know. For me personally, it's more fun trying to disguise the samples so that no one would recognize them. Like, basically, that's where I find, like, the joy in it. Like, I would buy a record because it's got a, you know, like a single instrument note on it, and that's the instrument that I want. That's the note that I want. You know, and that's it. That's all I'm going to buy it for. Like, you're not going to get sued by a record label because you sampled like one note from a song, because you're not going to use. The chances are you're going to put it on some sort of keyboard function and play your own tune with it. Like, they're never going to notice, and that's the beauty of sampling as far as I'm concerned. It's like, I can't play a piano, I don't own a Rhodes organ, I can't play a saxophone, I can't play the drums, and I don't own a drum kit. Like, but everything that I want, all of those elements I can go and find on records, like, and, you know, put them in there and away you go. And I'm not gonna, you know, I could sit there and make loop beats all day, like, but I don't find that fun. Like, I like, you know, fucking around with the samples. You try and change the sound of it, make it sound different. Do you know what I mean? Like, pitch it so low that, you know, a 1 second note sample would last for about 4 seconds. Like, do you know what I mean? And that kind of stuff. Like, you know, it's just more fun that way. Like, I think, personally. But you know, I sample. Like, I do not play anything for the tracks that I make apart from the bass. I'll play bass on it. That's it. That's all I play. Like, I don't play anything else. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I have made about 3 songs where I haven't sampled anything, and they're shit. Like, simple as. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, the best shit that I make is sample stuff, man. So what? I'm not gonna do anything else. But yeah, I'm all for sampling, man. I'd love someone to sample my shit. Do you know what I mean? Definitely. But you know, my next. I've made an album to put out or whatever, and I've left open drums at the end of the song just because I want someone to sample it, like, so that I can be like, they sampled me, like, you know. I love that shit. Like, that's what I live for. Like, which genre of music do I sample the most? Soul, I guess. Probably more soul than anything else, because I sort of know what I'm looking for. like I've not delved that deep into the world of jazz yet. Like I really haven't. But I will do. But at the moment, soul definitely. Like soul music, like especially like 70s stuff. Has almost everything that I need in it. Like I haven't really had to go elsewhere to find anything that I can't find in soul and funk, basically. Like, so I sample more soul than anything else. Like, but I am gonna start sampling a lot more jazz stuff, like, because there's so much of it, like, and I just need to learn what I'm looking for, basically. But I'm getting there. I've got some jazz records, and I think I've done alright so far. So I just keep going. Like, I just need pointers, basically. Like, But yeah, soul is my most sampled genre, definitely. And the thing is, it's like I go out and buy soul records because I like listening to them. Simple. Like it's not even like a case of like I'm going to buy this to sample it. It's like I'm going to buy this to sample it, but I'm also going to enjoy listening to that. Like at some point I'll put that on and it will play all the way through, and and I'll really enjoy it. So not that I won't enjoy jazz music, but there's something about soul music that I really enjoy, so I kind of stick with that at the moment. But I look elsewhere. Like I've sampled other stuff as well. You know what I mean? Like I'm not strict on it. But like I say, I kind of know what I'm looking for with that, so I stick within that sort of genre. But I will branch out soon. But yeah, soul music, that's what I sample. Do I share my samples? Yes and no. It depends who you are and how well I know you, basically, and how bait the sample is or not. Do you know what I mean? If it's super bait, then yeah, like the thing is, if it's bait enough that you don't know what it is, do you know what I mean? Then and I've made it like super obvious, like then you should probably just know what that is, like without me telling you, like. But yeah, I tell friends of mine what I sampled, but then half of my friends don't even care, so it's like difficult one. Drums, probably, yeah. Certain samples, yes. But I mean, you're always gonna find somebody. You're always gonna find a producer that will sample that one track that they will always hold on to, like, and they will never tell anybody what it is. I have that sample, like I own that sample. That would be that sample for me, like, but I haven't flipped it yet. I have the record, like. And I will take it to my grave what it is, like, before I tell anybody. Do you know what I mean? But it will be enormous once the sample is a ridiculous song, like. But yeah, and I've got my dad to thank for that, like. But yeah, like, the sharing sample information is like, if I sample something and somebody asks me what the sample is, and then I tell them, and then they resample it, like, that's dickhead stuff. Like, I mean, you don't do that. And if you do that, then you're terrible. How do I acquire my samples? I go digging for records. I buy records. That's where I get my samples from. I'm not strict on it. Like I will take samples from anywhere, basically. Like but I enjoy digging for records. I enjoy records. I enjoy listening to records, even if I'm not sampling them. Like, so it's turned into like a big hobby now. Like, so I take them from records. Like, there is obviously like a limit to how much money I'm willing to spend on one, like, so, but the thing is, it's like on the flip side of that, it's like I just don't look at records that cost over a certain amount. If it's like, if I end up hearing something and finding the record and it's like 70 quid, then it's like, fuck that, like, you just move on to something else. For every record that has an amazing sample on it that's 60 quid, there's a record for 50p somewhere that has something just as good on it. Like, you know, the price doesn't mean it's good or not. Like, I've bought records that are expensive that are shit, basically. Like, you know, and, you know, the same thing. I've bought records for 50p that I've made 6 beats out of. Like, you know, it just depends what you're buying. Like, but yeah, I buy records, man, and that's where I get my samples. My favourite sampler is probably something that I've never used. So I'll list them off, like the SP1200, the MPC 60, the 950, the 900, that kind of stuff. Like, I love that kind of shit. I really do. Like, and one day I genuinely hope that I will own a piece of that, like something along those lines. Like, at the moment, for me personally, it's not a financial position that I'm in to be able to afford it, but you know, I'm hopeful that one day I'll be able to just like fill my whatever space I'm at, like then fill that space with that kind of shit. Like, you know, that's what I like. But you know, in terms of stuff that I'm used to, you know, Maschine is an amazing piece of kit. Like, it really is, and it does everything that I need it to do, you know. And if I didn't have like a want and a lust for after analog equipment and 12-bit sound and that kind of stuff, like, I'd probably never move on from it. Like, but you know, I do want a piece of that, like, analog 12-bit world at some point, like, you know, and that's what I'm aiming for. But you know, at the moment, Maschine, it does everything that I wanted to do, and it is brilliant. Like, and I love it, you know. And like I said before, I want to link the two things together. That's why I think a rack of some sort would be better for me. I think, because the two things working together, it's like I've had it going at one point before my sampler broke, but you know, it's really good. Like, you know, and I'm looking forward to that time when it happens again. Like, you know, so yeah. My favourite software is probably Abelton. I think, like, I used to use Abelton to make all of my music, like, and I use Maschine to make all of my music now, but I used to use Abelton to make it all. But yeah, Ableton, definitely. Like, I don't think you're going to get a sequencer that's easier to use than that. Like, I really don't. And I can't understand the people that have a problem with how to use it. I don't get it. I don't get how you can't use it. Like, it's about as easy as it gets. Like, but yeah, I create my, you know, loops or whatever in Maschine, and I drag all of the stems into Ableton, and I arrange all of my tracks in there. Like, so yeah, Ableton, definitely best sequencer and like music software that I've ever used, I think, by a fucking mile. Like, definitely. Do I focus more on samples or drums? Oh man, it completely depends on what kind of samples I've got and what kind of drums I've got. Like, it really does, you know. All of the drums that I have on vinyl, I've sampled. So I have them all like saved in different projects, like, you know, in Maschine and that. So I very, very rarely start with drums. Like, I will sample the piece of music that I want to sample first, and then kind of like do the drums afterwards, or I'll have like a bass kind of like set of drums that I'll use, and then I'll change them depending on whether they sound right or not. Like, you know, I'll go through like 6 or 7 kits before I find the one that I want, you know. So it's difficult. It depends. Like, it absolutely depends. But sometimes, like, you know, you'll hear a sample and you'll know immediately what you want to use with it, and that's kind of like the best case scenario. Like, you know, I like it when that happens. It makes life a lot easier, but you know, that doesn't happen every day. So yeah, it is both. It depends. Like, it really depends. But I've had it either way, you know. And it's sometimes all you need is drums and a tiny little bits of samples. Like, you don't even need that much. But then there's complex samples that don't need much drums, you know. But yeah, I don't know, difficult to say. I think it's kind of like 50-50 with that. Like, what are my two favorite instruments, and can I play any instruments? First off, I can't play anything. Like, I literally can't play anything. Like, nothing at all. But two favorite instruments, like when it comes to sampling, are probably drums and you know, like piano, like Rhodes kind of organ pianos, like that kind of stuff. Like, so drums are super important in hip hop, obviously, like, you know. And I think the Rhodes is just like the most beautiful sounding instrument ever. So I usually look for those two kind of things. But yeah, drums and piano. Let's say piano to kind of like broaden that. Like, so drums and piano, I would say. If I could learn to play any two musical instruments, it would be exactly those two. It would be the piano, and it would be learn how to play the drums. Like, I'm pretty sure I could, you know, smash something on the drums, but I'm not sure it would be too great. If I could work with two producers on a track, dead or alive, Primo, because it's Primo, and probably Nick Wiz. I think, like, and Nick Wiz is like super underrated, man. Like, that dude's made some bangers, like, and yeah, definitely them two. Like, Primo just because it's Primo, like, you know what I mean. I'd love to see like his process and how he goes about like making his beats and that, because he's, you know, you can usually find videos online of anybody making beats apart from Primo. Like, you'll never find a video of him making something, which kind of makes the mystery about it. Like, I like that. Like, and yeah, like Nick Wiz, he just makes bangers. Do you know what I mean? So that'd be cool. I'd like to see his process as well, like, and what kind of shit he's using. Like, he's using the sample and that kind of shit. So yeah, I think them two. If I could pick two MCs to work with, man, Rock Marciano, like, definitely, because like there's no one that's like Rock Marciano. Like, you know, I'd listen. It's like listening to a movie when that dude raps. Like, it's fucking incredible. Like, it's God, who else? A Biggie, obviously. Like, it has to be, like, it's the greatest that ever did it, as far as I'm concerned. So it'd be them two. It would be a track by me with them two on it. Like, I'd buy that, definitely. So my top three producers, besides the ones that I've said already, Pete Rock, because everyone has said Pete Rock, so I feel like I should say Pete Rock too, because Pete Rock is incredible. Who else? There's some dudes that I just discovered like recently that I never knew about. It's a guy called it's two guys, as far as I know, called Truecomers, and they're from either France or Switzerland. They're from either a French-speaking part of Switzerland, or they're from France, man. And like, those dudes are sick. Like, they're ridiculous. Like, so definitely them. And who else? Easy Moby, because Easy Moby made stupid beats. Like, Easy Moby made Flavor in Your Ear, for fuck's sake. Like, that's like, it doesn't get better than that. Like, that is that beat is just retarded good. Like, it's insane. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I made that beat, I would be like, there's something missing here. Do you know what I mean? And then try and fill it with loads of crap that it doesn't need. Like, that dude is a fucking genius, man. Like, I swear to God. Like, so yeah, those two. So who am I feeling right now? Besides the people that I listed, Bailey's Brown, obviously, because that's my boy. You know, he is an amazing producer. Like, he's taught me a lot, and I've heard music that he's going to release next year, and it's ridiculous. Like, the dude is an all-rounder, better than anybody else, I think. Like, so absolutely him. I'm insanely excited about the DJ Drinks album. Like, yeah, I can't wait for that shit to drop. I'm looking forward to that a lot. Like, George Fields, definitely. Like, that Glad to Meet You album was ridiculous. I'm looking forward to the next one, definitely. Like, and who else? Joe Kane, definitely. Like, you know, that he needs to send me something or put something out. I don't know if he's putting anything out, but if he is putting something out, he definitely needs to tell me, because if he is, I'm going to buy it. And please get filmed so that I can see the process. Like, I want to watch that. Like, as a producer, like, I want to see how these guys work. Like, definitely. Like, you know, and yeah, like, you know, it's the equipment, it's the illusion, I guess. Like, the whole thing about it. Like, I want to see how that works. Like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, jump on that shit, man. Like, it's here as a platform. Like, you should use it. All right. So the first beat that I'm going to showcase is a track called Begin War, and it's been signed up by Kista from Soundweight. Like, shouts to Kista. They're putting a compilation tape together of like loads of different producers from the UK, and it will be a pretty sick little project. Like, so basically, the main sample is from this Steely Dan record that I saw a lot of people had, so I checked it out. Got it. Like, that was an eBay dig, and this one, which was a 50p charity shop dig. Now this has got a wicked little drum break on it. So I will find some one of these. There you go. So a nice like rim shot and clean hats and kick drums and that. The main sample is basically like a piece of Rhodes from an intro. I can't remember which track it was from on that Steely Dan one, but it's literally like, you know, crushed or whatever, like sampled in at 45, and I used the SP setting on the machine to basically pitch down stuff. If you sample at 45 and pitch down on a machine in the SP setting, it does have like a certain sort of, it's never going to be an SP, but it will give you a similar sort of effect. Like, so it's basically just spread across the keyboard on, like, you know, the keyboard setting on here, and so you get all the different notes, and they're all choking off each other and stuff, and it's basically just two keys, you know what I mean? So there's one and that one, and that's it. And there's some bass on there, which is just a patch on machine from one of the synths that you get with it. I don't really know which one it is, like, but, and then some horns, and there's something else as well. Oh, that, yeah. So just like to, there's a low pass filter that I put onto the main little sample as well. I'll play it first. So there's that's what it sounds like, and there's a little low pass filter that you can put on as well, like just on that group, and it's got these little it's got that little noise on it as well. It's just like reverbs out and, you know, like echoes out or whatever. It's got no low end in it, just to ride over the top to keep it interesting. You know what I mean? And that's it. Like, the finished version has some cuts on it that I did, but I did that in Abelton, like post when I arranged the track and that. So, like, I don't sample cuts or whatever into Machine. I can't figure that out. The Machine is really bad for like arranging tracks on, like, you know what I mean? So I use like a separate software, obviously, like afterwards, you know what I mean, for that kind of stuff. So there you go, that's that. The second track that I want to showcase is a track called 75, which is off of that's the name of my next release, which, fingers crossed, all going well, comes out in April. Like, I got the samples from this Tomato record, which was recommended to me by a friend of mine, and there's a Dilla sample on there apparently, so I've probably done the same thing because that's what usually happens. And the drums are about as bait as you can get. The start of One Love, it's got drums on there. Thanks Q-Tip for the open drums, appreciate that, I like them ones. And yeah, so it's like a I don't know what it is, I don't know what instrument it is, but it's like a glide kind of thing, like, but I'll play it to you, like. So it's got like that glide thing that goes along the top. Right, let me take them out. It's got that glide instrument that goes all the way through it or whatever, and it's just it's quite a long sample, and it's 3 different cuts of it, and there's like a note repeat in there as well to get one little bit to extend for longer and that. So you know, there's some work that went into it. It's not just like a loop or whatever, but like I say, the drums are from One Love. And there's some other bits and pieces on here as well. That's let me take this out so you can hear that's another little clip from the same track or whatever, and it's usually just like one note across a keyboard, 2 keys, you know what I mean, like super simple. And then there's this little weird thing which is like a sped up kind of saxophone, I think, if I remember right. It's literally just as simple as that. It's just like one note or whatever, just a sped up saxophone, and it makes like this cool little weird kind of like twinkling kind of noise. Loads of reverb, loads of delay on it, so it draws it out a little bit, and then there's some horns that just run over like that. So they come in and out of the track, and they run all the way through the hook and that, and that's it. The horns came from this record there. So at the end of one, I can't remember what track it is, but at the end of this, one of the tracks on this record or whatever, there's like a horn section, and as the track fades out or whatever, there's like well, it does that basically, but like a lower pitch, like that's sped up quite a lot. But yeah, it's got some cymbals over the top, but I tried to EQ them out and that, and that's it. And that's the whole lot. That's every single track. Like, so there's 6 groups on there. That's it. So 6 different things going on at once. There's bass on there as well, which is this, you know, the same patch as the last track. Like, it's the only patch that I ever really use on Maschine. Like, it comes with so much stuff, but I literally use one bass patch, and that's it. Like, I don't really use anything other than that. But yeah, this track's called 75. Should be out 2016, 17. Yeah, forgot what year it was. So the third beat is another one from my next release. It's called As Good As Gone. The finished version has like a little Big L clip in it. It's like, you know, where he raps that lyric or whatever. Like, and the sample that I got is from this Incognito record. Pretty good record. It's got some nice little bits on there. Like, that's the main sample, which is just like another Rhodes organ. Like, I end up sampling a lot of Rhodes organs. That's kind of like what I look for or whatever. But yeah, I'll play it for you. It's got some other elements like some horns and stuff like that. Like, I'm not going to tell you where the drums are from because I'll probably get sued or something. You know what I mean? But yeah, I tried to find some live bass. I managed to find like a standalone sort of bass note on there. So that's where the bass is from. It's that note sampled and EQ'd, so it's just you know, it doesn't have any of like the record static on it and that, and split across a keyboard, which is cool. It works for most things, but there are certain notes on some things where you know, you're like in between notes where you can't hit it or whatever. But you know, for the most part, it works. Like, but yeah, pretty simple, not difficult to make. Do you know what I mean? Like, not. That's it. It's good. It's, you know, this is on my next release as well, so it's nice. It's just like a roller, like this. You know, there's not a massive amount happens in it, but it's nice. You can you know, nod your head to it, and that's all you need really. So, all right, the next one is a beat that I've made for Bailey's Brown's next release. So shout to Bailey, he's my boy, and I don't know if he's going to use it yet. He said he's going to use it, but if he doesn't, he doesn't. But I hope he does. Like, and basically, like the main sample is from this Lamont Dozier records. I had this because it had a break on it, so I bought it for the drums. But in the end, I can't remember what track it is. Like, but there's one track on here, and I think it's right at the end or whatever. It's just got like loads of single bass, and then he's like doing some like some chatting like, "Oh Lord," like it's at the end, which is pretty sick. So that's where that came from. The next bit is there's a string that rises in it as well, and that's from that. One of the first tracks on this or whatever, the soundtrack for Close Encounters, like. It's got a really nice, like, real sinister kind of string on there, and you'll notice that there's some sort of like xylophone kind of thing or whatever. That is from a track on here called Howie's Death. I got this off eBay for like about 50 quid because like everyone was going on about, you know, oh man, I sample loads of soundtracks, like. So I had no idea what I was buying, so I just bought like the first load of soundtracks that I found, and it was like 3 records for like 2 quid. Do you know what I mean? So that's where that came from. And the horns are from that dude. This guy. Nice. So yeah, the horns are from that. So it's all of those records, like on this one thing. And the bass is, yeah, like I say, the bass is from that Lamont Dozier. You'll hear the vocal or whatever, and like the little ding dong bit is from that Western thing or whatever that is, like, but that's it, pretty simple. Like, the drums, I can tell you where the drums are from. The drums are from this is the Rolls Royce 45 for Wishing on a Star. If you have that, there's a B-side track called Funk Factory, like that has drums on it. It's not like a break, it's like a kick drum on its own, then some music, then a snare drum on its own, and a hi-hat, like, so I mean, so I chop them up like across Maschine or whatever, and that's it. So that's all the records are sampled for that track. So yeah, the horns run through the hook or whatever, like, and this is the rest of it, like. But yeah, Bailey's gonna use this. Hopefully, Bailey's gonna use this for like his little solo thing that he's coming up. And like, if what he's told me is right, I'm gonna have like the only beat on the album that isn't produced by him, like, which is pretty sick, like. I mean, so right, next track is a track called Plan Connection, which is off my next release as well, like my next solo thing. Like, it samples this record by Hatfield and the North, and I've waited so long to get a copy of this, like, for a price that I can actually afford, and I managed to get this battered copy off of eBay for like 18 quid, and it is literally fucked, like, but I mean the record's good, so that's all that matters to me. But yeah, same deal as before, basically, like one kind of note, like split across a keyboard, like a lot of horns, like some big drums, and here you go. So you've got like the drum track or whatever, soloing. So you got the drum track, like going like that, like a little accent thing to run over the top, just to keep it interesting. That's the main bit there. So that's like a tiny little section of, I don't know what track it was somewhat on there, like, but that's just a tiny little section split across a keyboard again. So it's like, you know, it's sampling like you know, like an instrument that you want, and then making your own sort of thing out of it, rather than just relying on, you know, what you can get out of a loop or whatever. Like, yeah, there we go. Cool. So there's some horns that some like pitched up horns or whatever that like run over there, and another one, like, and this all just happens like at various different points, like during the breaks. There's another horn that runs through, and this that everybody knows, like the long red thing or whatever. Now, I don't own the long red record, like that is literally an MP3 like sampled from my phone. Do you know what I mean? Like just into Maschine and that. It's just cool. It's just like a tiny little bit. Do you know what I mean? So I don't mind that so much. But there you go. That's it. And the last group is the bass, which is like the main noise from the Hatfield record, just filtered. So it's just got no top end on it whatsoever. Like just boost the bottom end a little bit, like compress it and that, and that's it. So this will be out with the rest of them. Like. The next track is another track off of my next release. Basically, the main sample is just a piano sample from this Monty Strikes Again. Yeah, it's just like jazz, just like piano jazz, basically. Like cheap record as well. Like it was about £2 or something. You know what I mean? Like there's some good stuff on there as well. If you see it, it's worth picking up. Drums are from this. If you've ever seen this record, about it, actually it does have a drum break on it, but it's like a really quick one. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, probably like around about like 180 BPM drum break, but you can take the single hits out of it, and that's what I've done basically. Like the hi-hat, not so great if you try and use it. So the hi-hats is literally like a loop of hi-hats that's on the start of one of this record. On the start of this record, basically, like this Barry White one where he's playing piano in the middle of space somewhere, and looking really sad on the back for some reason. I don't really know why. I'm guessing she's probably done something that he's not too happy about, but you think he'd be happy because, I mean, this looks pretty sick, whatever he is, like, so it's pretty dope. But that, definitely buy that anyway. If you do see that record anywhere, definitely get that, because that's amazing. That. Here you go. So it's literally just like one piano loop, basically. I think it's split across a couple of keys, it's split across a couple of pads, like, so the hits hit when they should, like, that's it. It's just one simple piece of piano, like, but it's not, like, you end up listening to, you know, anyone will tell you, you end up listening to your own stuff quite a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like when you go through the process of making beats or whatever, like, you end up listening to a song 1,000 times, just mixing it down and that, like, this one is one that I've just never got sick of, like, and in like arranging the track, like in Abelton after this, it has like a little hook that I put in there, like basically from an Artifacts track, like a Jay Dilla remix of an Artifacts track, and it just had like a really nice bit of vocal in there. I can't remember what he says now, but he says something like, and it's just that like looped over, and that's just the hook, and then just like the verse sections are just like the piano just filtered out, like basically like this. So it's just nice, like you can like, you know, you're not supposed to get gassed off of your own stuff, do you know what I mean? And it's like, I've listened to this like so many times, like, and if someone told me about one track that I made that I had to listen to like right now, it would probably be this one. Like, I mean, like, it was so simple to make, like, you know what I mean? But I love this one, man. It's so nice, like. But yeah, that's it. sampled the pianos in at 45 and pitched them down, so you get like that, you know, on that setting again, and you get that nice little, you know, like bit crush effect on it, like, which is nice. Like, I would like to have made it on a real SP, but like, I don't have one, so I use the next best thing, which is the settings that you can use on that to try and make it sound like it. You know what I mean? So that's it. So now I'm going to show you the process that goes into how I make music, basically. Like, so like to start with, I'll show you like drums. So I've got those drums on there. Those drums are from an MP3. They're MP3 drums, like, which I don't normally use, like, but they're so good that you almost can't really turn it down, and to buy the record that they came from is like 50 quid, do you know what I mean? And I try and give myself a limit to the amount of money that I'm going to spend on a single record, realistically, when you think that how many records you could possibly get for 50 quid, or you can get one drum break. It kind of makes sense that, you know, for this one, it's not so important, do you know what I mean? So I've got some drums, like, I've done a little pattern, like your standard one. I use the same pattern quite a lot in drums, like, you know, if you've ever noticed it, like, I don't really vary them that much, do you know what I mean? I like a certain pattern and I kind of stick with it, so, I mean, it works for me. So, that's that. So we got some drums in there. The next thing that we got, that I've sampled, is from this record, this Earl Clue record. Like, now this isn't one of like the super like rare, like, oh my god, an Earl Clue record kind of thing. Like, you know, this is one of the 80s ones, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 1981. So this is one of the shit ones. Like, so you can pick this up anywhere. I'm pretty sure that you'll find this somewhere, and it will be about a quid or something like that. Like, but you'll see on here on the end of which one is it? On side 1. There's a track right at the end, to the last one on side 1. Broadwalk Ramble, that one. It has like a nice little intro to it, and you'll notice that it has this. Some nice, like, you know, like slap bass kind of stuff, like, so pitch it down. Hold on, I've got this on, that's it, there you go. So you what I've done is I've chopped like all of the, you know, like the main sections of it, so it doesn't have any, because obviously there was hi-hats over the top of the sample, so there's no you know, worry about them going out of time or whatever. I've basically just cut the sample short, so as soon as it's finished, it stops, basically, like, because we're going to layer loads of stuff on top of it anyway, so you're not going to notice if it stops quite abruptly, but there's tiny little fades on the end of it, so it fades out quite nice, like. So let me just take the rest of these out. So I've recorded like a pattern, like, over the top of the drums or whatever, like, and it's basically just copying like the initial pattern of what he's playing on that record anyway, like, you know, I'm not changing it in any sort of way, like, so all I've done is made it so that I can play it at any sort of BPM, and the hi-hats aren't going to go all over the place, you know what I mean, and throw everybody out, like, so, you know, so we've got that section. The next section is this record. Okay, so this Denise Williams record, like, there is a song called Free on here. It's the first track on side 2. A lot of people have sampled it, like Ninth Wonder's sampled it, just off the top of my head. Like, do you know what I mean? You'll see an endless amount of people that have used it. Like, but it's a really good record for things like what we've used it for here is like hitting more than one button there, but this little vocal section with the pitch down, like slap bass or whatever, this is in the same key. Do you know what I mean? So it's like we can have like a little vocal accent to go over like a hook or whatever, like if you know wherever the hook section is, like. So we've got this bit basically. So I'm gonna turn that off and take the rest of this out a sec. So basically, so we've got this now. So you've got like your drums, that nice slap bass from that Earl Clue record, and a little vocal from this. Now what else I've done with this record as well, there's two different parts of this track that I'm going to use for this record. Like just before that vocal comes in, there's a nice little Rose like interlude or whatever. It's got a lot of like little chimes and that in the background and that. Hold on, wrong one. So what I've done is I've pitched them up so they're a lot faster, like put some delay on them, put a little bit of reverb on them, and just played them at two different keys. So what you're going to have now is you'll have that little vocal sample that goes over the top, and you'll have some little accents that go with it. Like, I'll show you. If I take the vocal sample out a minute, I mean, it's just like a, you know, it's not like a major part of the track, do you know what I mean? But it has something that runs over the top of it, like it gives it like a little bit of rhythm. You can play a different pattern, do you know what I mean? So it's just something to, you'd notice if it wasn't there, but because it's there you don't necessarily notice it. It's one of those things, do you know what I mean? It's like little accents that you know, you used to try hard to pay attention to. Like it's those little things that kind of like make up like the dead space in the track, do you know what I mean? Like they're quite important, you know, and they're also like the hardest things to do, do you know what I mean? Because they have to sit quite nicely in the background without taking any sort of like, you know, centre stage as it was, like, you know, it kind of taking the attention away from everything else. Like, so we've now got those bits as well. There's a nice little vocal sample in that hook section. So you've got to have horns. Every great track has horns. So so now we've got this. So now there's a horn section on there. Now this horn is one that I sampled off of a CD that I got from somewhere, like, and I can't remember the name of the dude, but it's a track called, like, it's a track called Impromptu. That's all I remember, like, and it's got like this mental horn solo at the start of it, like. And I've bought vinyls since that are like, you know, like saxophonists or whatever, like jazz sax and all this kind of stuff, like, you know, to try and find horns with. But this is still the best horn solo that I've got, that I own, that I can use. Like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't come from wax, it is from a CD, like, do you know what I mean? But, you know, CD quality, it's fine. Like, you just don't get the static, which, you know, when in such a small section like that, you wouldn't even hear it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Like, so that's where the horn section comes from. On the next track, I've got bass, which is a pad from, if I can see, Massive. So Massive comes with Maschine, you get Massive, Contact and all of that kind of stuff, like. So it's just a patch on Massive. I don't know which sub bass it is, but it's in the sub bass category. Like, I only use about two, so it's one of them two. So that's that. So you can play like you know, I've recorded a pattern in here, like, so. Hold on, let me take it off. Here you go. Right, it's on solos there. Cool. So there's bass going on now. So we've got our drums. You know, like the slap bass, the vocal sample, the little twinkle bits that go over the top, some like low end sub bass like to run underneath it. And it's like, so what's missing out of this now is just like a main, so we've got all of the things to do with like the low end of the track and all of the things to do with the top end of the track, and now we're missing something in the middle. Like, so what I found on this Hatfield record, to go back to the Hatfield record, because if you're ever in doubt, there'll be something on this. Like, this record is completely nuts. It's one of the best things that I've ever bought. Like, the inlays will tell you everything that you need to know about this record. Basically, it's batshit mental. Like, and I love it. It's really good. It's almost like a go-to to fill in the gaps with stuff. Basically, like, so on this track now, I did sample like a few little bits. There's some nice weirdness going on quite a lot of this. But then there's also that really nice piano. So what I've done is I've split that tiny little piano piece that you heard onto 2 keys. And what I was thinking is to have like 2 notes, so it plays like dung dung like this, like. But you need the second notes to string out a little bit more. So I've put them onto these 2 pads. And then there's like a little bit of delay on that second one, just to string it out a little bit. Like, so, you know, like I said about filling in the gaps and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't, you know, breathing space in a track is really good. Do you know what I mean? But if that piano cuts completely dead at the end of that note, you would certainly notice it. Do you know what I mean? So to have it like play out like a little bit, just to fade out ever so slightly, like it's going to sound a lot better. So I will take that off of that solo and mute this one. That's the last bit. So you can hear the piano in there. Like, if I take that out, that's the piano lick there. You know what I mean? Like, it plays out really nicely. Like, and if I bring that slap bass in on top of it, it's now got like a really nice kind of vibe to it. Like, it's that old like 90s, 96 like funk kind of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of shit that everybody loves. Like, and so we now have almost like pretty much all of the elements that I would ever use for a track. Do you know what I mean? Like, anything that we're going to add to that is either going to clash with something pretty much, because if you fill in almost all of the frequency range, like, you know, there's tops, middle, and bottom end now. Like, so the only thing that I would put on top of it is like an accent kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, something, it's not necessarily musical, but that you can have like it's a weird one, because it's not musical and it's not really rhythm. Do you know what I mean? But it's something else. Like, so you all know that basically that sample, like, it's been used thousands of times. Like, probably like doing it, like LL Cool J is probably like the most famous one that I know of, like, apart from the track that it's from. Like, but yeah, that just over like the hook section or whatever, we can echo that last section out, so that when you go from chorus or hook or whatever, like into like a verse space or whatever, you can get like a nice like delay that runs in and bridges the gap between the two of them, basically. So you hear it going on in the background and that, like. So if you just wait for it to get to that, and then you got yourself a track. That's it. That's all the elements right there. Like, like personally for me, like I wouldn't, I'm not gonna add anything more to that. Like that's enough for me. Like it has everything that I feel it needs. Like, you know, and all you need now is somebody who's really good, like really good MC that can come on and just kill that. Like that's all it's missing now. You know, or like an arrangement or whatever to make it an instrumental, whatever like you feel. You know what I mean? But that's it. There's a lot of elements to that track and a lot of different samples, and it's difficult to key match stuff like that. That's an art, I think. Is sampling different songs from different records and key matching and all of that kind of stuff. Like, so if you can do that, then I think you're onto a winner basically. Like, but yeah, there's a lot of elements in that track, but I mean they all kind of work together. You know, it's like there's luck involved in this as much as there is any sort of skill. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you just gotta get lucky. You could drop the needle on a record at any point, and if there's something on there immediately it's like, oh yeah, that'll work, the chances are it probably will. Like, and that's it. Like, the more you think about it or whatever, like the less feeling there is involved in it, and I think, as far as I'm concerned, the less likely that is to actually come up with any sort of results that would be worth it. You know what I mean? So that's it. And that's how I go through making a beat. And sometimes there's 2 elements and sometimes there's 10. It just depends, like, basically what you're working with to start with, like. But there you go.